God's miraculous plan. Discover the shocking redemption of Joseph and his pagan wife Asenath. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, a tale unfolded that would shake the very foundations of destiny itself. Joseph, the favored son of Jacob, was cast away from his homeland of Canaan, a beloved child now bound in chains. Betrayed by his brothers, whose hearts were filled with envy, he was sold into slavery, the weight of their treachery bearing down on him like a dark cloud. In those moments of betrayal, the memory of his father's love and his younger brother, Benjamin, haunted him, whispering reminders of a time when family meant safety. Yet, despite these cruel circumstances, the flicker of faith within him held strong. Joseph languished in an Egyptian prison, falsely accused and abandoned, his spirit crushed beneath the weight of injustice, as if an iron yoke held him fast. Yet the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob saw Joseph's plight. In the depths of despair, Joseph leaned into his God-given gift of interpreting dreams, allowing the whispers of heaven to guide him through dark nights. Then came a day of divine appointment, when Pharaoh, tormented by troubling visions that echoed through the silent halls, summoned Joseph from his chains. The moment he stood before Pharaoh, destiny crackled in the air. Joseph, cloaked in the Spirit of the Lord, did not falter. He revealed the coming famine, a warning that unfolded like a scroll of life and death, buying him favor in Pharaoh's court. The years turned, and Joseph rose to power, his wisdom governing the land. Fate wove its intricate tapestry as he united with Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, a priest of On. In this union, she appeared a stark contrast to the lineage of Joseph. She bore the weight of her pagan heritage. Some might have turned away, judging her by her roots, but Joseph saw God's sovereign hand in their union, a tapestry of grace and redemption taking form. Asenath found herself captivated by Joseph's faith, his stories of the one true God who had preserved him amidst trials. Her heart wrestled with the customs of her upbringing and the divine truth that stirred within her. Could she embrace this new calling, or would she remain anchored to the idols of her father's house? The specter of famine loomed, casting a shadow over the land. Joseph stood resolute, a leader equipped to model faith and forgiveness even toward those who had wronged him, while navigating the burdens of leadership. As desperation weighed heavily upon the land, Joseph's fractured family turned towards Egypt, unaware that the brother they had cast into despair now held the power to save them. But Asenath's heart was torn as well. She coveted the faith being sown within her spirit, wrestling with her heritage. Would the impending crisis reveal not only Joseph's integrity but also the miracle of faith that could transform her life? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the air grew thick with anticipation, Joseph's heart quickened with the promise of restoration. The winds whispered of hope and redemption, revealing the intricate workings of God's miracle, waiting to unfold. Would Asenath's embrace of faith align with the divine plan, bringing forth transformation and healing to all? The resolution lay ahead, shrouded in the mystery of God's infinite wisdom, waiting to be revealed in ways Joseph and Asenath could not yet imagine. In the days that followed, the skies darkened over Egypt as the famine crept ever closer, a ravenous beast that would lay waste to the land. Joseph, now exalted in Pharaoh's house, walked among his charges with a heavy heart, burdened not just by the weight of governance, but by the looming needs of his family in Canaan. Each day, the people poured into the granaries he had so wisely stocked, their faces etched with desperation. And with each grain dispensed, Joseph's yearning grew stronger. Would his brothers, those who had betrayed him, come seeking his aid? He prayed silently, beseeching God to guide their hearts. Asenath, keenly aware of her husband's turmoil, sought to comfort him with tender words. "My lord," she said one evening under the flickering lantern light, "the land suffers, and your heart is burdened. Yet, do you not see the hand of the Almighty at work? It is his providence that has placed you here, able to save not only your people but those of your father's house." At her words, Joseph's spirit stirred. "Asenath, how can I forgive these men who shattered my childhood dreams? They cast me into the depths of despair, they thought me lost to the darkness. How does one reconcile such betrayal?" She looked deeply into his eyes, seeing the conflict within. "The Lord of hosts speaks of mercy, my love. Consider how he has shown you grace after grace, even in your darkest hours. Perhaps this famine is not just an end, but a new beginning, a chance for healing, for reconciliation, for faith to be awakened." On the morrow, as rumors echoed through the city of Canaan's distress, Joseph's heart fluttered with anticipation. He dispatched his emissaries into the surrounding lands, as Pharaoh had commanded, to bring forth grain from the overflowing silos. But he longed for more than mere grain, he secretly prayed for the appearance of those who had forsaken him. The days turned into weeks, and at last, as the sun hung low in the desert sky, a dusty caravan emerged from the horizon, a familiar sight that sent Joseph's heart racing. He recognized the scruffy figures just as clearly as he recalled their faces from many years past. His brothers, standing together once again, had come to Egypt seeking sustenance. Joseph's heart quickened, a torrent of emotions surged over him: love, pain, and anger intertwined with a glimmer of hope. He concealed himself, observing their demeanor. The brothers stood amongst one another, their expressions telling of regret and hardship borne beneath the weight of their choices. He wrestled with his emotions as he stepped forward, his identity hidden beneath the guise of authority. "You seek grain, do you not?" he spoke in the tongue of the Pharaoh, his voice smooth yet commanding. They bowed before him, their hearts trembling with fear, and one spoke nervously, "We are but humble men seeking food for our family. We have traveled far from Canaan, our land suffering greatly." Joseph's heart ached as he listened. In that moment, he resolved to fulfill not only the necessity of physical sustenance for his brothers but to orchestrate a moment of truth and redemption. The air crackled with divine tension, the stage set for reconciliation. Little did they know, the man before them, though unrecognizable, was their long-lost brother, a divine orchestration unfolding as they stood on the precipice of revelation. Would the shattering of past wrongs give way to forgiveness? Would Asenath's faith blossom under the weight of this calamity, resulting in a transformation that reached beyond her heritage? As the story of redemption began to emerge, Joseph understood that both identity and convictions would soon be tested in the crucible of God's unfathomable plan, waiting to be fulfilled in ways they could not yet comprehend. As Joseph regarded his brothers, a tempest of feelings thundered within him. He had been marked by their betrayal, and now, standing before them in regal splendor, he was a living testament to whatever the Almighty had wrought. Yet, his heart ached for justice tempered by mercy. "Your words reveal much, but I must test your sincerity," Joseph declared, his voice unwavering. "You are spies, come to see the nakedness of the land." At this assertion, dread washed over his brothers. They exchanged frightened glances, their minds racing back to the memory of the one they had wronged. "Nay, my lord," they cried in unison, voices shaking. "We are but servants of the same Father, 10 brothers sent to procure food. We do not seek to harm or deceive you." Joseph lingered in silence, peering into their eyes, searching for truth. Recollections flooded his mind, the laughter of his youth, the warmth of his father's embrace, the ache of imprisonment. In the span of a heartbeat, he recalled the prophetic dreams that stirred fate along its course. "You claim to be brothers," he pressed on, trying to unearth the depth of their hearts. "And yet, one brother remains with your father, while another is lost." His words cut through them like a knife. Unbeknownst to them, that lost brother stood before them, breathing yet hidden behind the shroud of unknown authority. "We have but one brother, Benjamin," pleaded Judah, his voice trembling. "His dear life is weighed heavily on our father's heart, for our father did lose the other, Joseph, whom he believed dead. We seek only to bring salvation to our household." At the mention of Benjamin, a piercing ache coursed through Joseph's heart. The thought of his dear brother brought forth tears that clouded his vision, yet he concealed them, keeping his facade intact. Behind the ruse, he sensed the authenticity of their distress, but could he infuse their sorrow with hope? "You shall not see my face again," Joseph announced, his voice steady. "Unless your youngest brother comes to me. Bring him here, and I shall know that you speak truth." With that decree, he commanded them to fill their sacks with grain, but not without a test. He ordered their money returned in secret, a divine chess move under the watchful eye of Providence. As the brothers departed, laden with sustenance, their hearts were troubled, for they had sinned against the brother who had grown into a man of might. They journeyed back to Canaan, each man burdened with the weight of their past. Upon arrival, they told their father Jacob all that had transpired, and his heart sank as he heard the tale of danger and loss. "Why must you bring upon me such anguish?" he lamented, tears cascading down his weathered face, for he feared for the life of Benjamin. Little did Jacob know, hidden in the fabric of this unfolding story, lay the intricate design of God's redeeming love, meant not only to revive the house of Jacob but to weave a magnificent narrative of hope for all nations. Joseph's pain was not without purpose, and the pain of their father was crucial to bring restoration to their broken lineage. And so, with sorrow and uncertainty, the brothers contemplated the journey back to Egypt, praying the Almighty would guide their hearts toward healing. The sands of time continued to slip through their fingers, and as they mulled over their options, an undiscovered truth awaited, a truth that would reverberate through generations. Would they dare embark on the road to forgiveness and restoration? For within their hearts lay a greater plan, invisible to the eye yet laid out by the hand of the divine. The linchpin of their redemption was yet to be revealed, waiting patiently in the wings of destiny, orchestrating a reunion that would echo through history, a story of grace amidst tribulation. The journey back to Canaan weighed heavily upon the brothers, the grains of guilt mingling with their burdened hearts. Night fell, and as the stars twinkled above, illuminating the darkness with their faint light, they encamped at a resting place. Their thoughts turned inward, the air thick with unspoken words and haunting memories. Reuben, the eldest among them, broke the silence. "I spoke, but it was my voice that led us astray," he confessed, remorse casting a shadow over his countenance. "Did I not implore you to spare Joseph? And now, we face the consequences of our own actions." Judah interjected, "Do not cast shame upon us alone. God has brought us low because we turned against our brother. The fear that grips our hearts is just, for we have wronged him greatly." Their words hung heavily in the air, each man reflecting on the fateful day they cast Joseph into the pit. The anguish of their father, Jacob, echoed in their minds, and the vibrant dreams that had once inspired both Joseph and themselves now felt as distant as the horizon itself. As dawn approached, they continued their journey. Days traveled into the horizon, with every step enforcing the weight of their decision to return for Benjamin. At last, they arrived once more in the land of Egypt, setting their eyes upon the grandeur of the palace where they feared yet sought deliverance. The moment they stood before Joseph again, their hearts raced, an unfamiliar mixture of dread and hope surged within them. "We have returned," they uttered, voices trembling before the mighty man who governed their fate. Joseph proclaimed, "Your words are weighty. Has the truth you once concealed come to the surface? Is Benjamin with you?" There was no escaping the depth of his examination, his gaze piercing beyond their facade, striking deep into their souls. "Indeed, we have come as you commanded," Judah replied, stepping forward, for his heart yearned to protect his father's beloved son. "This is Benjamin, the youngest, who carries the weight of our father's sorrow. We seek mercy, my lord." Joseph's heart stirred within him, but he remained firm yet compassionate. "I will test your integrity further. You may stay and feast with me, but know this, if you are found wanting, you shall face the penalty of your deceit." As the brothers gathered for the meal, watching in awe as Joseph prepared a feast lavish beyond their desires, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. Their sacks, unbeknownst to them, bore the signs of their prior journey. The money meant for the grains lay nestled silently within. When their eyes beheld this, fear gripped them anew. "What is this that God has done to us?" they whispered among each other, trembling under the weight of impending judgment. But Joseph turned his back momentarily, concealing the welling tears born of compassion and longing. He longed to reveal his true identity, yet he must unveil the heart before the man, ensuring their repentance was genuine. As feasting commenced, Joseph observed closely. With each morsel, he saw remnants of his once pure brotherhood, and providence unfolded like an ancient scroll before him. Their discussions became rooted in memories of their father, recounting the tales of their youth and the bonds they had severed. Suddenly, Joseph resolved within him to reveal his true self. God's plan, birthed amidst their trials and tribulations, sought not only personal redemption but the flourishing of a nation. Yet, the time had not yet come to unfurl the tapestry woven by divine hands. "Tomorrow, I shall reveal the truth," Joseph whispered into the dark, a promise ringing through the stillness of the night. He sensed the seeds of change taking root within the hearts of his brothers, a glimmer of hope illuminating their path. For as God had been silent in their anguish, he was orchestrating a grander narrative, one that would bring not only salvation but reconciliation. And thus, the stage was set for an unveiled truth that would shake the foundations of their understanding, a revelation that the shadows of their past were but stepping stones toward a glorious redemption. Would they embrace the grace offered to them? Would they at last comprehend the depth of the mercy that awaited? The answer awaited their hearts, poised on the brink of divine revelation and the unfolding of a story yet to be told. As the sun broke the horizon, warmth enveloped the land, casting golden rays upon the weary brothers who had passed a night fraught with tumultuous dreams and wavering hope. Judah stirred first, his eyes clouded with the weight of unconfessed sin, and he glanced toward Benjamin, who lay beside him, blissfully unaware of the looming shadows cast by their past. "Let us prepare ourselves," he said, his voice steady despite the storm within. "Today is the day of revelation, it seems whether a blessing or curse remains to be seen." The brothers gathered their thoughts and prayers, each heart a chamber of fears blended with the tenuous thread of possibility. As they approached Joseph's palace again, a deep yearning to reconcile their past tormented them, a longing for peace that appeared just beyond their grasp. Joseph, upon entering, looked upon them with intent. His heart, ignited by brotherly love yet shadowed by the justice of God, felt the swell of anticipation. "You stand before me as men carrying burdens," he spoke, his tone rich with both authority and compassion. "The time has come for truth. What will it unveil of your hearts?" With trembling hands, Joseph beckoned Benjamin forward. "Come now, you who bear the mark of our father's grief, the child left in innocence while we clothed ourselves in guilt. Will you, like the rest, flee from your past, or will you stand to embrace a new chapter?" Benjamin looked up, his wide eyes shimmering with courage. "I seek not to flee, but I desire the blessing of our father." His words melted the icy defense Joseph had held since their last encounter. At that moment, Joseph's spirit wrestled with a multitude of emotions. It was in the depths of his heart that he knew he could conceal his identity no longer. But could he trust them? Could they shoulder the revelation of who he truly was? To reveal himself meant the unveiling of a painful history, intertwined with suffering yet brimming with the promise of redemption. "Very well," Joseph began, drawing a breath laden with years of silence. "I shall present the God-given truth that dwells within my soul." With a voice straining against the weight of history, he declared, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt." The words reverberated in the chamber, echoing like thunder in the stillness. The brothers froze as the reality struck like a great wind, and disbelief waged war in their hearts. "What sorcery is this?" they gasped, voices low with trembling fear and astonishment. Joseph continued, "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves for selling me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. It was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt." Bitter sorrow and harrowing guilt began to wrestle with flickering hope in their hearts. God's design. One of them murmured, realization dawning as layers of their past were peeled away, revealing the sovereign plan of their Lord. Yet even as the air thickened with emotional upheaval, Joseph saw their terror guilt blaring like a trumpet blast in their chests. "Fear not," he reassured them, the grace in his voice a soothing balm. "You led me into the pit, but God lifted me to heights for the keenness of purpose. Go, tell our father, and bring him here, for famine will come upon the lands." Overwhelmed by his words, the brothers fell prostrate, clinging to the ground as despair mingled with the dawning of hope. In that ancient moment, as they met divine mercy, they began to grasp that the pain of their past was no longer a sentence but a bridge to a promised unity, a pathway to healing. As they shared embraces born of reconciled regret, Joseph stood firmly planted, filled with the knowledge that divine intentions do not go unnoticed, they are interwoven into the very fabric of life. But the greater mystery loomed: what further schemes were yet to unfold? What new chapters awaited them in the land of promise that beckoned from beyond the horizon of reconciliation? For God's hand was unfurling a majestic tapestry for their lives, draped in threads of trial, triumph, and a grand legacy yet to come. Would they now walk the path set before them, or would doubt take root once more? The answer lay yet in the unfolding of God's eternal plan. As the brothers rose from the ground, their hearts still pounding with the weight of Joseph's revelation, an unspoken understanding began to form among them. Judah, standing tall despite the shadows of guilt that clung to him, addressed the group. "Let us not tarry in our fear, we must return to our father and share this miracle of grace that has been wrought among us." His words stirred in their spirits a boldness that banished the remnants of doubt. They gathered, huddled close, whispering fervent prayers of thanks and sorrow, acknowledging how their past sins had brought them here, yet it was God's hand that had sovereignly guided their lives toward this moment of reconciliation. Benjamin, trembling but emboldened by the revelation, turned to Joseph. "But, my lord, how shall we bear the news to our father? Will he believe our words? Can he accept that you have risen to such heights, and still hold affection for us, your betrayers?" Joseph placed a gentle hand upon Benjamin's shoulder, his heart swelling with affection. "You shall speak of the fulfillment of dreams and the divine orchestration of our lives. Go, and bring our father Jacob, for here, in the heart of Egypt, we shall form a new family, woven together by the threads of mercy and grace. Tell him of my glory, and how the Lord has made provision for our people." And so, the brothers embarked on their journey back to Canaan, the echoes of Joseph's truth ringing in their ears. Each mile they traveled bore witness to their inner transformation, where once they carried guilt and shame, a newfound hope began to blossom within them. As they approached their father's dwelling, their hearts quaked at the thought of unveiling all they had learned. Entering the familiar tent, they found Jacob, weary from the burden of his grief, mourning the supposed loss of Joseph. The brothers formed a tight circle around their father, the air thick with anticipation. "Father," Judah spoke first, his voice steady yet full of emotion. "We return to you bearing good tidings. Joseph, whom you thought lost to us, lives. He is ruler over all the land of Egypt." Shock gripped Jacob, disbelief etched upon his face. "What say you? My Joseph? How is it that you reveal these things to me?" Reuben stepped forward, emboldened by the truth he bore. "We witnessed his grace, Father. We met our brother, and he is alive. He has forgiven us." At their words, Jacob's heart trembled, hope flickering like a candle in the wind. "If Joseph lives, then let me see him. Let me embrace the son I mourned." But Judah took his father's hands, his gaze firm. "He awaits you in Egypt and desires to bless you and our family. The land has been prepared for our coming, there is abundance even amidst this famine. Come with us, Father, do not linger in despair." Then Jacob's soul stirred, his heart torn between fear and faith. "Let me see this sign of my son alive, and I shall go. Let me witness this promise before I follow." What was birthed in that moment was more than a reunion, it was the igniting of a family's legacy intertwined with God's plan, a journey toward restoration not just for one but for many. Later, as they gathered for the journey, Joseph, enveloped in the glow of divine promise, watched his brothers from afar. Unbeknownst to them, a story that transcended their understanding was unfolding, one that would engrave their names into the tapestry of God's great design. And as they departed toward Egypt, there lingered in the air a sense of divine mystery. What unseen purpose awaited them in the vast land, what trials and blessings would we weave together in the days to come? For God's sovereign plan awaited revelation, waiting for the moment to unfold upon the stage of destiny, echoing through generations yet to come. What transformation lay ahead in the journey of Joseph and his family? The answers remained shrouded, glowing just beyond the veil of their immediate understanding. And it came to pass that Jacob, filled with trembling hope, gathered his household and prepared to journey unto Egypt. As he set his eyes upon the horizon, the fading rays of sunlight shimmered with promise. "Go, my sons, and bring my son Joseph back to me," he said, his old heart eager to see the beloved child whom he had mourned as lost. With their father leading the way, the caravan moved forward through the arid wilderness, their hearts aflame with a mixture of dread and expectation. The brothers conversed amongst themselves, recalling the dreams that had once caused much strife in their family, dreams that now seemed to proclaim God's providence. "Shall we not speak of the ways that the Lord has brought justice and mercy to our lives?" suggested Simeon, ever reflective. As they drew near the border of Egypt, word reached them that Joseph, now a man of great authority, had prepared a place for them. Upon their arrival at the gates of the city, the brothers beheld the magnificence of Egypt and felt the weight of their previous transgressions heavy upon their souls. "Yet look how our brother has flourished," said Levi, each word laden with awe. "It is by God's favor that he has become the savior of many." When they finally stood before Joseph, fear gripped their hearts anew, for the Egyptian garb he wore and the crown upon his head transformed him into a figure of regal splendor. "Joseph," they whispered, their voices hushed under the weight of their shared past, bound by the cords of guilt and betrayal. But Joseph, recognizing them, smiled, and a light of forgiveness shone in his eyes. "Come close, my brothers," he called, his voice laced with authority but softened by love. "Let not your hearts be troubled. The Lord has orchestrated all these events for good." They approached with trembling knees, uncertain of the grace they would receive. "What will you do to us?" cried Judah, ever the first among them to confront their burden of sin. "For we have wronged you deeply in our ignorance." Joseph took their hands, lifting them to peace. "Fear not, for though you intended it for evil, God meant it for good, to bring about this great deliverance." A wave of relief washed over the brothers, and the tears they shed spoke volumes of the burdens lifted that day. And it was at that moment Joseph revealed his love for Benjamin, reaching out and embracing him, tears flowing freely as joy intertwined with sorrow. "I see you, dear brother, you are the son of my beloved mother. Come now, let us break bread together, and let the feasting begin." The news of their arrival spread quickly throughout Egypt, and soon the house of Joseph was filled with laughter and joy, a banquet laid out as a testament of reconciliation. Jacob's heart soared far beyond the confines of the tent from which he had mourned. "Surely the Lord has remembered me," he exclaimed upon hearing that his son was alive. In the midst of this feast, while the memories of trials and betrayals seemed to fade, there lingered a greater design unfolding. For Joseph's wife, Asenath, and their children were soon introduced to Jacob, and the family gathered together, a union of two worlds not often seen as compatible, woven together by divine purpose. Yet still, within the hearts of Joseph and his brothers echoed the questions left unasked: what now awaited them in this new land? How was this marriage to a woman of Egypt a part of God's unfolding promise? As the revelry reached heights of joy, an unspoken tension hovered, a divine mystery still lingered over them like a cloud waiting to be poured forth. For surely, there were greater purposes lying on the horizon, God's sovereign plan was not yet complete. Would they see the full tapestry of grace that was being woven through their lives? In this juncture of celebration and anticipation, a whisper of destiny beckoned. What role would Asenath play in the legacy of Israel? And what future triumphed in the heart of God amidst this union? The pages of history yet unknown held the answers, ready to be unveiled in the fullness of time. And it came to pass that as the sun cast its golden rays upon the lands of Egypt, Joseph brought forth his brothers into the inner chamber, a place bedecked with the riches of the earth and the symbols of his authority. There, surrounded by the bounty of providence, the brothers sat as guests of honor, yet the weight of their past remained unspoken among them. "Brothers," Joseph began, his eyes searching their faces, "the Lord has delivered us from famine, but our hearts must not forget the trials that have brought us here. God has set us upon this path for a purpose greater than ourselves." The brothers nodded, each one bearing the marks of guilt and shame that still clung to their hearts. "Tell us, Joseph," said Reuben, his voice trembling with the burden of regret, "how do we honor this gift of mercy you have shown?" Joseph leaned forward, earnestness in his tone. "The time has come for you to share in this bounty, for it is not solely for me but for our family. Go forth and bring our father Jacob, that he may dwell here where he is safe, for the Lord has favored us." With each word, the room filled with a sense of divine purpose. Asenath, standing nearby, watched with great admiration for her husband as he spoke with the authority given by God. She felt in her spirit a stirring, for she too was woven into this divine tapestry. "Indeed, we must not return empty-handed," Judah spoke out, his heart rekindling hope. "Let us bring gifts that reflect our hearts, the best we can find in the land of Canaan, for we are not deserving of such grace." With the plan set, the brothers departed from Joseph, their hearts now lightened by the revelation of his love. As the gates of Egypt swung wide, a wave of blessing flowed as they journeyed back to their father's house, eager to proclaim the good news of life and forgiveness. But as night descended upon Egypt, Joseph found himself troubled in spirit. His thoughts turned towards Asenath, and the questions of her lineage began to arise. How shall our children's legacy intertwine with that of Israel? He pondered, knowing full well the significance of their union. Asenath approached him, sensing his inner turmoil. "My lord," she said gently, "what disturbs your heart on such a day of joy?" Joseph, turning to her, expressed his fears. "I wonder if our children shall bear the weight of my family's past. Will they understand their heritage? Will they seek the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob?" Asenath's eyes sparkled with conviction. "Your God is the God of creation, and he will reveal his purpose. Let us bring our offspring into his ways, for the truth shall prevail, and through them, he shall weave a legacy that all nations shall marvel at." Thus, there emerged a bond between Joseph and Asenath, not merely of husband and wife, but as vessels of a divine mission yet unknown. The night carried its silence, filled with the promise of what was to come, as God's hand shadowed their future. In the distance, the winds whispered through the palm trees, carrying the scent of hope. Yet even amidst this hope, another mystery lingered. What trials lay ahead for this new family? Would their children remain true to the covenant of God? The answers lay hidden in the heart of the Almighty, awaiting the divine revelation of his sovereign plan. And the ground shook beneath them as a centurion, new to the trust of Pharaoh's court, gazed into the horizon. Perhaps, through unknown trails, an unexpected alliance awaited them, one that would blend the bloodlines of God's chosen and the rulers of the nations, leading toward a fulfillment yet to be scripted in the annals of time. And it came to pass, as the first light of dawn broke upon the horizon, that the brothers set forth on their journey back to the land of Canaan. Their hearts were filled with an anticipation that mirrored the myriad hues of the morning sky. Each step they took was a step away from shame and a step toward reconciliation, for the gracious provision of their brother Joseph had become a beacon of hope. As they traveled, their hearts were emboldened by the memory of Joseph's words. The weight of their father Jacob's grief pressed heavily upon them, and the urgency of their mission spurred them onward. "Let us not delay," Simeon urged fervently. "For the longer we are apart from father, the deeper his sorrow shall be." Reuben, affirming his brother's sentiment, declared, "We shall share with him this bounty. It is time for joy to replace the shadow of mourning." They spoke of gifts that would demonstrate their gratitude and love, the finest grains, the sweetest fruits, and the precious relics that could only be found in Egypt. And it was when they reached their home that they found Jacob sitting upon a stone, his aged countenance etched with worry. When the brothers approached, their mouths trembled, filled with the weight of their confession, yet they were met with an unexpected sight. Jacob lifted his head, his eyes widening in disbelief as they proclaimed, "Our brother Joseph lives. He is the ruler of all Egypt." His heart, once resigned to despair, now surged with a quickening. Is this truly the word of my sons, or have my ears entwined within the realm of dreams? Jacob questioned, for the depth of his grief had been profound, and he could scarcely fathom such joy. It is true, father. Judah spoke, his voice imbued with shouts of exultation. He has offered us a place of refuge among the rich lands of Egypt. Bring your household, and let us dwell together in prosperity. And Jacob's spirit soared, fueled by the promise of reconciliation. As he gathered his sons close, emotion overwhelmed him. Let us bless the Lord, he proclaimed, falling to his knees, who has restored my son to me. Surely, God's mercies are renewed each morning. Yet amidst this rejoicing, as the family prepared for their journey, unseen threads of divine orchestration wove through the air. In Egypt, Joseph, fervently awaiting their arrival, sought to make preparations in the land that would soon teem with the descendants of Israel. He discerned that the whole earth was under a famine, and as men and nations clamored for sustenance, he marveled at how everything was fulfilling the prophecies spoken over his life. That evening, Joseph summoned his steward. Prepare a place for my family, he commanded. And let them know of the bounty which the Lord has given us. But even as he spoke, a gnawing concern echoed in his heart, will they embrace the truth I now hold? Will my father welcome the lineage of Asenath as part of our family not out of obligation but in love? Meanwhile, Asenath perceived his unvoiced fears and approached him. Your heart is troubled, my love, she said softly. What weighs upon your soul even now? Joseph gazed into her wise eyes, the love he bore for her deepening with his every breath. I fear for our children, dear Asenath. What will they inherit, a heritage stained with my family's past, or a legacy that shines forth in God's grace? Asenath responded with resolute faith, our children shall write their own story, Joseph, filled with valor and faith, for they shall indeed be blessed by the God who saved us from our distress. And thus, the scene was set, dark clouds hung on the edges of their future, but the light of divine promise shone brighter still. For God was weaving his sovereign plan, bringing together nations and households, that the journey to redemption would not merely be for Joseph or Israel, but for all who look upon him in faith. The unfolding of their story was set against the backdrop of glory unseen, as a great deliverance awaited just over the horizon, poised to illuminate the paths of many nations. What unexpected alliances would unfold in the land of Egypt? Would the hearts of Joseph's family recognize the transformative power of divine grace in their midst? The promises lay shrouded in mystery, waiting to be revealed by the Almighty's hand. And it came to pass that as Jacob prepared to embark on the journey to Egypt, a sense of divine anticipation permeated the air. The caravan, laden not just with treasures from Canaan, but also with burdens from the past, began its voyage toward reconciliation. Each step resonated with the rhythm of God's majestic plan unfolding, laden with the promise of restoration. As they traversed the vast wilderness, the tales of old, the joyful dreams that once ignited the hearts of Joseph and his brothers echoed in their minds. The memory of their father's anguish, the nights spent beneath the stars, all reminded them of the profound mercy that awaited them in Egypt. Jacob spoke often of hope, a hope that was reignited by the news of Joseph's incredible rise in power. Upon entering the regal city of Egypt, Jacob felt as though a balm was being applied to the wounds of his heart. The bustling marketplace, filled with vibrant sights and sounds, stood as a stark contrast to the somber depths of grief he had endured. And then, as they were welcomed at Pharaoh's house, the moment of reunion, a divine crescendo drew near. Joseph, donned in his finest attire, stepped forward to meet his father. The sight of the man he had long thought lost sent waves of recognition crashing through him. Jacob's eyes glistened with tears as he beheld his son, now a figure of hope and power. Joseph's voice, warm yet commanding, broke the heavy silence, my father. I stand before you, not just as a man of Egypt, but as your son returned from the grave. The embrace that followed was fierce and tender, enfolding the past sorrows within the warmth of renewed love. I thought I would never see you again, Jacob whispered, his voice heavy with joy. At that moment, every tear shed in sorrow transformed into a river of gratitude, washing over the very bonds of brokenness and despair. Yet, even amidst this profound reunion, the presence of Asenath lingered quietly behind Joseph. With grace and poise, she stepped forward and introduced herself to Jacob, offering her reverence for the family that now entwined with hers. "I am honored to be part of your family," she said, her voice steady, aware of the delicate fabric of unity that was being knit even in this sacred moment. Jacob's paternal gaze met hers, and he recognized the sincerity of her heart. Asenath was not merely the wife of Joseph but a partner in the divine orchestration unfolding before them, a union heralding blessings and purpose. With hearts intertwined, Joseph and Asenath summoned the family to join in a feast, an echo of celebration that echoed through the ancestral halls of Egypt. The banquet held not only food but also a promise of unity in diversity, of faith shared among nations, and of redemption woven into the very marrow of their lineage. As the night wore on, stories of God's provision flowed freely, and the spirit of gratitude enveloped the room. "Let us not forget the path that has brought us here," Joseph reminded them. "Our trials, our betrayals, all were threads in the weaving of God's intricate tapestry. He has turned our darkness into light." Around that table, the hearts of Jacob's sons began to reflect a new understanding and acceptance of mercy greater than their follies. They discussed the fateful night when they had cast Joseph into the pit, remembering not in horror but in reverent awe that God had used that deep pain to usher in great deliverance. Judah, embodying a spirit of transformation, rose to speak. "The Lord has balanced justice with mercy. We have witnessed it here today. What was meant for evil, God has transformed into good." As the family rejoiced, a whisper of destiny brushed through their souls, a promise of future generations that would know of God's faithfulness. Asenath held her children close, her heart swelling with gratitude, knowing their lineage would intertwine with the legacy of Jacob, a legacy grounded in the promises of God. Thus, the evening deepened into the night, and with every shared story, the threads of reconciliation took hold tighter. As the stars twinkled above, reflecting the light of a new dawn, a chorus arose among them, not just a celebration of what was, but of what was yet to come. For as the days unfolded into weeks, the union of Joseph and Asenath bore fruit, a legacy that would traverse beyond Egypt, knitting together destinies with ancient promises. Generations would arise from this intertwining lineage, a testimony to God's unwavering faithfulness across lands and peoples. And so, Joseph's heart settled into the contentment of knowing his family was united under the sovereignty of God. The journey ahead was still veiled in mystery, yet each step was an affirmation of hope. Asenath, too, found her place, no longer as a mere shadow but as the catalyst of faith, bridging her heritage with that of Joseph's family, embracing the fullness of divine destiny. As the sun rose upon a new day, God's tapestry of grace continued to weave through time, whispering promises of hope and redemption to all who would believe. The Lord's hand would guide them forward into a future bursting with purpose, echoing throughout eternity, an everlasting story of families brought together in faith, celebrating the miraculous plan of a loving God. We invite you, dear friends, to join us in this journey of faith. If you found hope in this story, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word, because there is so much more to explore. Leave a like now so we can spread God's message through the algorithm. Comment below with your reflections. How has this story impacted your journey of faith? And please share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Don't let this moment pass. Together, we can illuminate hearts with the light of Jesus Christ.